Officer Derek Morrison had written thousands of tickets in his 15 years on the force. He'd seen people cry, beg, even try to bribe him. But nothing prepared him for the day he pulled over a quiet woman in a Honda Civic for a broken taillight and decided to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. What he didn't know was that she was about to teach him one instead. This is a story about power, humility, and the moment when arrogance meets its match. It's a reminder that the badges we wear, whether literal or metaphorical, don't make us untouchable. And sometimes, the people we underestimate are exactly the ones who change us forever. It was a Tuesday afternoon in suburban Cleveland when Officer Morrison's patrol car lit up behind Sarah Chen's vehicle. Sarah, a 42-year-old single mother, had just finished a double shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her eyes tired, and yes, her taillight was out. She'd been meaning to fix it for weeks. She pulled over immediately, hands visible on the wheel, just as she taught her teenage son to do. Morrison approached with his usual swagger, the kind that came from years of people doing exactly what he said. Exactly when he said it. License and registration, he said. Not bothering with pleasantries. Sarah handed them over with a polite, "Good afternoon, officer. I know about the taillight. I have an appointment to get it fixed this Friday." Morrison barely glanced at her documents. "That's what they all say. Step out of the vehicle." Sarah's heart sank. "Is that necessary? I'm happy to accept the ticket and be on my way." "I'll decide what's necessary," Morrison said, his voice cold. "Out, now." What happened next would become a matter of dispute. Morrison claimed Sarah was being combative. Sarah maintained she was nothing but compliant. What wasn't in dispute was that Morrison escalated the situation dramatically. He had her perform a field sobriety test, despite no indication she'd been drinking. He searched her car without clear cause. He kept her on the side of the road for nearly an hour, during rush hour, with curious drivers slowing down to stare. Finally, he handed her not one ticket, but 3. Broken taillight, failure to signal when changing lanes 2 miles back, and most bizarrely, obstruction of justice for questioning his authority. "See you in court," Morrison said with a smirk as he walked away. "And I suggest you get a good lawyer. Judges around here trust officers, not people who think they're above the law." Sarah sat in her car shaking. Not from fear, but from something else. Determination. 3 weeks later, Morrison walked into the municipal courthouse with his usual confidence. He testified in hundreds of cases. This would be no different. Another routine win. Another reminder that he was the one with the power. He scanned the courtroom and spotted Sarah sitting quietly in the back row. She looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable than she had on the roadside. Good, he thought. She knows she doesn't stand a chance. The bailiff called the court to order. All rise for the Honorable Judge Sarah Chen. Morrison felt his stomach drop. He watched, frozen, as the same woman he humiliated on the side of the road walked through the judge's chamber door, wearing black robes instead of hospital scrubs. Sarah's eyes met his for just a moment. There was no triumph in them, no revenge. Just a quiet, steady professionalism that made Morrison's smugness dissolve like sugar in rain. "Please be seated," Judge Chun said to the courtroom. Then, addressing the clerk, "Before we proceed, I need to recuse myself from this case due to a conflict of interest. I am the defendant." The courtroom buzzed with confusion and whispers. Judge Chung continued, her voice calm and clear. "Officer Morrison issued me 3 citations 3 weeks ago. At the time, I was returning from a shift at University Hospital, where I volunteer in the emergency room twice a month, in addition to my judicial duties. I did not identify myself as a judge because I believe every citizen deserves to be treated with the same respect and professionalism, regardless of their position." She paused, letting that sink in. "I did not mention my profession because I wanted to see if Officer Morrison would treat a tired nurse in wrinkled scrubs the same way he'd treat anyone else. Unfortunately, he did not treat me with dignity, respect, or basic courtesy. He escalated a simple traffic stop into an hour-long ordeal that served no public safety purpose. Morrison felt dozens of eyes on him. His face burned. However, Judge Chen continued, I am not interested in revenge or punishment beyond what the law requires. I am interested in growth and accountability. Officer Morrison, I'm going to request that your supervisor assign you to community outreach training, where you'll spend time learning about the people you serve, not just the laws you enforce. She looked directly at him now. Power without empathy is tyranny. A badge is a responsibility, not a shield. I hope you'll take this opportunity to become the kind of officer our community deserves. The case was transferred to another judge, who dismissed 2 of the 3 tickets and reduced the third to a warning. But that wasn't what stayed with Morrison. 6 months later, Morrison requested a transfer to community policing. He began volunteering at youth centers, teaching kids about safety and respect, learning their names and their stories. He never forgot the woman in the Honda Civic who could have destroyed his career with a single word, but chose to give him a chance to be better instead, because that's what real power looks like. Not in humiliating others, but in lifting them up. Not in asserting dominance, but in choosing grace. We all wear badges of some kind. Titles, positions, accomplishments that make us feel important. But true strength isn't in what we can do to others. It's in who we choose to be when we have the power to choose. If this story gave you some soul relief today, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. And tell me in the comments, have you ever misjudged someone based on appearances? Let's talk about it.